This
And
meeting is being recorded.
happy Friday and congratulations and thank you. This is it's called the capstone. The capstone is like the last part. Okay, so this is the last part of our month-long walk together. Helping you guys, you've worked so hard. Your English has improved so much. You've learned new words, grammar, writing tips, all those things. Now, at DreyerCoaching, the learning never stops. We never have a DreyerCoaching graduation ceremony because the learning never stops. We're always learning and on a path to self-growth. But this is our last night of this month-long writing extravaganza. Okay, so tonight you're asked, you guys are in charge. You two are teaching the class. And you were asked, I asked you to prepare a little celebration presentation, summarizing some of the key lessons you've learned. Who wants to go first? Is there a volunteer? How about Sydney, please? Da-da-da-da. Okay, so take it away. You're first. And let's see what. Yes, you are.
Okay. There are five important things that I want to talk about what I've learned for this month. The first thing is I know how to use the thesaurus, and I'm going to take some examples that I've learned not only in the thesaurus. The first is satisfactory. It means 还好, like so-so. And pedagogical, like education. And insights.
I'm sorry. This is awesome. You're doing a great job. Actually, it's pedagogical. It's a j, which is weird because English G can be a g, it has a lot of sounds. It's pedagogical. Yes. Please continue.
Pedagogical.
Good.
And insights, and I used it to replace subject and accompany.
The word insight?
Insight, yes.
Yeah, that's a great word.
When I wrote the teacher appreciation banquet essay and accompany in the dolphin essay, and trampoline, I wrote it as a jumping bed. And
trampoline.
Mediocre. Yeah.
Mediocre. Okay.
Mediocre. It means like so-so. And saliva, it means I wrote water at first, and I was corrected.
Saliva.
And the last
Saliva.
Yeah. Saliva. I wrote it like water, and the last one is banquet. I wrote it in the teacher appreciation lunch too. And the next thing I've learned is the tips to avoid Chinglish. And there are the 6 points that I've memorized I've memorized it. The first is you have to use the correctly. And, yes.
Yes.
And there are some things written in the book. And second is I have to distinguish whether to use ed or ing as an adjective.
Okay.
And third, I learned that when to put ing on a verb.
Good.
动名词当主词.
Yes. Yeah. Good.
The fourth is I need to notice a part of speech to avoid Chinglish. 5, and don't use phenomenon too often.
Good. Can you give
an
example of when you want to watch
put
the part
ing.
of speech? Can you like for a verb, you mean?
Okay, do you want the part of speech example?
Okay.
Like happy and happiness. Happy is the adjective and happiness is the noun.
Good.
Like this.
Very good.
And 6 is don't use relax your mind too often in your writing. It's like Chinglish. And the next part is how to make my writing better. And I wrote 7 points that I think is very useful and very important. And the first one is you have to use formal words. Like don't use what's up, like this kind of words. And 2, you have to pay attention to use punctuations marks. Like you have to use, I don't know how to say it. But like the 括号 you have to use it before
parentheses.
the parentheses before the you have to use the and
Take your time. You're doing great. This is great to hear.
you have to write a dot before the you have to write a dot between the quotation marks. Oh yes, quotation marks.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. Good.
Yeah. And 3rd, you don't use abbreviation in a writing. Like you just speak. Yes, just speak. Use it when you're speaking. And 5, you have to have a strong start to attract the readers. Like in the 2 starts that I like the most is question and quotation.
Good.
I think it's most useful and it's easier to use when you don't have when you can't do research first. And 6, I have to write an outline before I start writing my essay. And 7, you have to use strong words, like you have to replace have to gain. Like
okay.
This.
Good. That's right. Use strong words. Good. Gain rather than have. Good.
And 4th, I've also learned some facts about Booker T. Washington. Like he used to born in Virginia, and I thought and actually I didn't know him before. I thought he was like the Washington president in America.
Well, same name, same last name. Washington.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. Good.
And the 5th point is I also learned the rubric of TOEFL exam, and I've got more that I know which side can I improve to make the exams in my future better.
Good.
And so
Excellent.
in conclusion, I know the importance of learning English is a long process during this month. Thank you.
Excellent. Well done. Well done. Well done. Yes. And I think maybe you saved, in English, we say, save the best for last. And you said you learned that learning English is a long process. So if there's one thing you've learned this summer is that, then that's good. Yes. It's not, a person won't become the next Shakespeare. You can't become Shakespeare in a month. You can't become Shakespeare in a semester. There's only one Shakespeare anyway. So it is a long process. That really is. And do you guys know the word called tedious? Tedious? That's a good vocabulary word. Tedious. Tedious. Have you seen that word before, Sydney or Tommy? I'm not sure what it is in Chinese, but tedious means a job that requires lots of attention to very, very small, picky, tiny details. And you mentioned punctuation, right? That's very
Yes.
tedious, very tedious. So when do you need a comma or not? When do you need a comma or a semicolon? When do you need a semicolon or a colon? When do you put the period before or after the quotation mark? That's all very tedious, and you can't learn that in one class. You can't learn that in 5 minutes. It just takes a lot of practice, because a lot of punctuation relates to grammar rules, right? So punctuation is very tedious. So especially writing just takes a lot of attention. We say attention to detail, and you have to slow down. Talking is more like, okay, talking你比较可以是 changes it, 比较可以随便讲. Okay, 随便讲. I get that. Talking is more forgiving. Okay, more flexible. That there's a reason why I can speak some Chinese, I can't write Chinese. And this is why. Obviously tedious is writing Chinese characters. So it does take time. Well done, Sydney. You've learned a lot this summer. I'm so happy. And students, for things like avoiding Chinglish, a lot of this stuff, you have your book now. We didn't have time this summer. We didn't have time to go through all that in 4 weeks, but you have the book. And I would encourage you, if you've not done so yet, look at the rest of the book on your own this month before school starts. Again, it has Chinese translations, so it's easy to read, and the English should be no problem for you guys anyway. Yeah, so the book is there. And if in the future, if you want to have another teacher to be your personal guide to go through the book and finish the book, let me know. We could arrange that. Well done. Tommy, do you have any questions or comments for Sydney?
No.
Okay. All righty. Well done, Sydney. Thank you. You put a lot of thought into that. I can tell you did a lot of thinking. Tommy, I guess it means it's your turn. We say fire away. Fire away means Kaisher. Fire away. Or you say take it away.
When I hadn't started to when I hadn't started this class, I still think that writing is just like you just need to read more books or something. But now I know that you really need to have great vocabulary and grammars if you want to write a great essay.
Wow.
And when I'm in the lesson, my teacher had edited my essays, and I realized that I had many grammars or vocabularies that I need to fix, like the description.
Okay, good. The description paper. Good.
Like the description. I've learned that a cooker is a machine that works, and a cook is a person.
There you go.
And
That's good.
and in the and in the what is it? And in the narration, I've learned the vocabulary in the glamorous and glamping. And it's like fancy or like, yes, it's like fancy.
Glamorous and
And
glamping. Good.
and in my last essay, the definition. Some words I had used a lot at this and this essay like skills. So the thesaurus helped me change the words to abilities or abilities or proficiency. And
Proficiency. Yeah, good.
those are the words that I had not heard before. And some grammars I I had learned like optimist is optimist is like it's a noun and it means a person who is optimistic, and optimistic is a adjective, so we cannot use
So you can say I am not an you can't say my dad is an optimistic. Is it right?
yes is right.
Yeah, you see, he's an optimistic person or an optimist. That goes back to what Sydney said, that where the part of speech is so important. Because in Chinese, they le guan, right, for optimist. But in English, it's optimistic, optimism, optimist, optimistically. You got like the different parts of speech. This is great. Please continue, Tommy. You're doing a great job.
And in the first few class, I've learned that we can use a word that is normally a noun and change it to verbs. Like to parrot is to copy, because parrots mostly copy what people said.
Excellent.
And when we were describing a picture, I've learned some new vocabularies like cooler, drill, or forearm.
What? Say those last three again, please, Tommy.
Cooler, drill, and forearm.
Drill and forearm. What was the first word? Cooler?
Cooler is 保冷袋.
Oh, yes, cooler. 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 Yes. You not say refrigerator. If you're going on a picnic, you take a cooler. You can't take the refrigerator. It's too big. Good. Cooler.
And also I learned that we need to use in the picture and not at the picture.
Okay. Those prepositions, right? In, at, on. Very
Yes.
tricky. Good. In the picture.
And we don't, and I learned that we should not use the same word a lot, and don't use the weak word like really, very, good, or bad.
Excellent. Excellent insight.
And other vocabulary like mediocre, punctual, coincidence, or rubric is like I've heard it, but I didn't know what it means, and I didn't go to find it. But after this lesson, I learned that if something you don't know, you really need to find it, or you won't know it forever.
That's true. Good. Good. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
And
Excellent.
there are many synonyms for classes. I learned this because when I'm writing my diary, I've used the word classes too much. So I change it to classes, courses, lessons, experience, or sessions.
Wow. Excellent. Man.
Then I also know how to use expect and looking forward to.
Oh, that's a good one. tell us the difference. When you use expect, when you use looking forward to, because in Chinese, it's the same. What is the difference, Tommy?
The expect is that 你认为一件事情会发生
Mm-hmm.
and looking forward to is like 期待
Yes, you're excited about it, right?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, good. See, so right there, you guys know a thing about English that most Taiwanese don't know. Yeah, looking forward to and expect. Good job.
And I think it's at the class before, and I learned how to I know the difference between how do you think and what do you think. And
Okay.
at first, I think they were the same thing, so I used it like it was the same.
The same.
But now I know the difference, and if I use the wrong one, it's like a completely different meaning.
Yes. And also it just sounds weird. Hey, let's go have a picnic. How do you think? It just sounds kind of weird. We say, what do you think? Good. Good.
So I think it was amazing. Like when my mom told me this class, I think it was just like reading or explaining some essays.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no many things than just reading and writing in this class. I've learned vocabulary, grammar, reading, writing, and many other else. And I'm
Wow.
glad that I had took this class.
Wow. Wow. Well, thank you. And Tommy, I am so glad. All of us at DreyerCoaching want to thank you, thank Sydney, thank your parents, because your parents, paid for this, let you learn about this. So we thank you. Wow. In English, we have a saying, music to my ears. Have you guys heard that before, students? This is music to my ears. This is a great idiom. Write this down. This is a great idiom. Has anybody seen that before, or can you guess what it means? It's a very common idiom. Do you know the word idiom?
Yes.
Chanyu, yeah. This is a very common idiom. Can you guess what it means, or do you know what that means, students? This is music to my ears. Normally, do people love to hear music or hate to hear music? If it's music you like.
我听着
What, Sydney?
我听着很开心啊。
Yes, exactly. Thank you very much. Han Kaishin. So I think you've both learned so much. And tonight, for example, Sydney saying all the vocabulary you've learned, the grammar, the punctuation. And especially I love it when you said you've learned that learning English is a long-term process. It really is. And it's so good, Sydney, you learned that lesson this summer because you're going into 10th grade. You're going into an IB program, and you're going to be challenged. You're going to be pushed, but you're putting yourself on a track. IB is a very high level. There's going to be lots of reading, lots of writing. Probably IB will be sending you to a college, probably in an English-speaking country. So it's so important to realize it is a long-term process. It just takes patience. And both of you learned about the thesaurus. Don't use the same word over and over again, like class, okay, or very, like I said, very, or really bad, or very good. You're getting more vocabulary, mediocre, satisfactory, good, cooler, and not refrigerator. Yeah. Now, cooler can also mean 比较凉快. You say, yesterday was hot, but it's cooler today. That's the same word. But what part of speech is that? If I say, yesterday was hot, but it's cooler today, what part of speech is that? It's an adjective. Yes. If we say, remember to put the ice in the cooler, what part of speech is that?
No.
It's a noun. Exactly. So again, in that case, one word has the same form, but totally, different meanings. Different meanings. Very good. And also great point, Tommy, how you said to be a great writer, it's not just a matter of reading essays or listening to a lecture, but you got to have the great vocabulary. You got to have the great grammar. All those things are required. Good. Sydney, any questions or comments for Tommy?
No.
Wow. Well, thank you both very much. It sounds like you've had a very fruitful summer. What does fruitful mean? To say you've had a fruitful class. What does that mean, students? Fruitful? Well, what is the root of fruitful?
Fruit.
You all know the word fruit, like Taiwan has delicious fruit. Yes. So what is a fruitful summer? What is a fruitful class? What does that mean? What is a fruitful experience? What do you believe? Is it a good thing or bad thing to have a fruitful experience? It's good. 很有结果, right? 很有结果. Because I have a garden, if you have a garden or a fruit tree, you want it to produce something, right? If you have an apple tree and there's no apples, that's no good. You want to have things be fruitful. Well done. Okay. Thank you both very much. Let's go ahead then, and we're going to turn off the recording.